an unbelievable basketball game with the best performance that we've had since I've been here by an individual.
Good afternoon and welcome into this edition of the Bill Self News Conference Show. I'm Matt Gasper. Well, after an average first half where Elijah Johnson went 3 of 9 shooting for 9 points, he exploded for 30 in the second half and overtime by going 10 for 13 from the field and a perfect 5 for 5 at the line. During the final 32 seconds of regulation, Johnson hit 2 deep threes and drained 2 clutch free throws to send the game to overtime, where he just nonchalantly added 12 more points and led the Hawks to victory. Self said after the game it was the best performance by a guard he's seen here at the university. But what was it that triggered Elijah Johnson to go off the way that he did?
I think it was the setting, the points, and there were no easy points. I mean, hey, you get a lot of times, not a lot of times, it never happened to me, but a guy may score 20 in 4 or 5 minutes because the other team has to foul to catch up or something like that. This is a guy making plays every possession. If he don't make every play, then we lose the game. And he had to make 5 or 6 consecutive plays in a row to give us a chance to win the game. And I think that was what was amazing about it is he did it when the stakes were at the very highest. It's one thing to get on a roll during the middle of a game, or it's one thing to have points at the end of the game. He got his stuff when it mattered every possession, and I think that's what made it the most special.
After the game, Johnson was swarmed in the locker room by his teammates. Usually the role is reversed and Elijah is the one giving the praise. But this time, it was all for him.
A lot of time I'm trying to be the one to either hype somebody up or shoot good feelings into somebody else. So I'm usually not the one that everybody's doing it for, and I'm not used to it being me. So when I came into the locker room and the team did that, I think the coaching staff saw a side of me that they haven't seen too many times. I felt good about it. My team made me feel good. They cheered me on the whole time. Told me good job. That's all I need to hear from them at that time.
Johnson's career-high 39 points were the most by a Jayhawk since Paul Pierce put up 34 back in 1997 in Honolulu against Vanderbilt. But on Monday, Kansas needed more than just Elijah Johnson because the Cyclones came to play, especially shoot, making a school record 17 three-pointers to go along with their 29 free throws.
You go and the other team makes 17 threes. And the other team goes 29 to 34 from the line, and the other team has 8 turnovers, and Ben scores 7 points. How do you win that game? It's because we had different guys step up. So I think the fact that different guys are stepping up, I think it does nothing but give us confidence moving forward.
Not only was the game on Monday an instant classic, it will also be a lifelong memory for head coach Bill Self. Coach's 400th win came against Iowa State, so it's only fitting that his 500th W would come against the Cyclones as well. He's now tied with legendary Temple coach John Chaney as the 9th fastest to reach that 500 milestone in just 662 games. He also joins coaches Roy Williams, John Calipari, and Jerry Tarkanian as the only 4 coaches in NCAA history to reach the 500 win mark within their first 20 seasons. But Coach Self will be the first to tell you, it wasn't him, it was his players.
It's unbelievable the run that we've had of late, and certainly we've had so many good players, and they've all played a role in it. But I do think, I'm not that sentimental, and of course 500 isn't a huge number by any stretch, and hopefully we can get a couple more at least. But I think look back, I think it's pretty cool to realize how many people played a role in the success that we've experienced, and I owe those guys everything because coaches don't win games, players do.
Here's another interesting statistic. In games where fifth-year senior guard Travis Relaford scores 10 or more points, the Jayhawks are an undefeated 22-0. However, in games where Relaford fails to reach that 10-point mark, the Hawks are just 2-4. He was the Jayhawks' second leading scorer in Ames on Monday with 19 points and matched his season high with 5 three-pointers. He's been as consistent as any Jayhawk this season.
Oh yeah, Travis has been better than what I even thought he would be. He's been great, and as evidenced the other night, the way he played in Ames, he was fabulous. Our seniors were all terrific the other night in Ames, and yeah, Travis has had a remarkable senior season. He's probably the personality of our team more than anybody else. He's probably the glue to our team as much as anybody else, and I think he gives us an element of toughness, probably as good or better than anybody else. So he's as valuable to our team as any of the guys we've had on our team.
With just 3 conference games remaining, the Jayhawks' quest for a 9th consecutive Big 12 title is easily within reach. We'll break down the standings and what Kansas has to do to secure the league when we come back. Stay with us.
Odds of becoming an astronaut, 1 in 13,200,000. Odds of being struck by lightning, 1 in 576,000. Odds of dating a supermodel, 1 in 88,000. Odds of bowling a perfect game, 1 in 11,500. Odds of being trapped in an elevator, 1 in 24,528. Odds of catching a ball at a major league game, 1 in 563. Odds of an injury from shaving, 1 in 6,585. Odds of tripping while texting, 1 in 10. Odds of getting cancer in your lifetime, 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women.
It's up to us.
To change the odds for our generation.
For the ones we love.
For our future.
If you don't like the odds,
Stand up. Stand up to cancer.
Weight was easy. All I had to do was sit down and eat. Losing weight's a lot harder. I have to work at it every day. But with every step, I lower my risk for type 2 diabetes and heart disease. And that makes every step, every choice, every day, very much worth the effort.
Hi, hon. How was your run?
Hard, but I hung in there and did my 2 miles. How was your workout?
Great. Dinner's ready. I hope you worked up an appetite.
A healthy female like this, you better believe it. Thanks for keeping us on track.
Hey, every step matters. We can do this.
And it's very much worth the effort.
Learn how you can help stop diabetes by losing weight, eating healthy, and staying active. Visit checkupamerica.org or call 1-800-DIABETES.
Welcome back. When Kansas beat Iowa State earlier this season in Lawrence, Ben McLemore exploded for 33 points and essentially did the same thing to the Cyclones that Elijah Johnson did on Monday. So you would assume, in a game when Kansas scored the most points it has all season at 108, that McLemore would have had a healthy dose of them. Well, not exactly. He didn't score in the first half and was limited to just 7 points in the entire game. The most puzzling stat of all is that he only attempted 6 shots, the fewest attempts of any of the starting 5. Well, the numbers don't lie. When he's playing at home, McLemore shoots 57% from the field and averages more than 21 points a game. But on the road, he shoots just 42% from the field, 23% from behind the arc, and averages 11.8 points per game. He has had a few good games on the road, however. He did put up 22 in Columbus when the Jayhawks knocked off Ohio State, and he hit some clutch shots in Manhattan to beat K-State. But the past 2 crucial road games for Kansas, at Oklahoma State and at Iowa State, McLemore combined for just 14 points on 5 of 18 shooting. But Coach Self is not worried.
You know, he's had his ups and downs. He's been more consistent at home, obviously, and stats back that up. But you know, he's young and just figuring it out. And I do think that every time that he goes through something, he becomes better for it. And just like I think the things that he went through at Iowa State, even though he was effective, he stretched the defense, he allowed other guys to get touches, you know, that kind of stuff. Even though we may not see that as him having one of his better games, I think he'll be a better player for it because he went through it. So everything's a learning process, and we certainly need him to play great moving forward because he is our most talented guy. But he's also got to figure out and find ways, which he is definitely trying hard on, how to help the team win when things aren't going great. And I think he's becoming more complete that way.
When Kansas traveled to West Virginia earlier this season, the Hawks got out to a quick 14-2 lead. Then the turnovers and poor free throw shooting helped the Mountaineers cut the lead to just 2 midway through the second half. Kansas was able to put together a run toward the end of the game and escape with a 5-point win. On Saturday, West Virginia will make its inaugural visit to Allen Fieldhouse. The Mountaineers have lost 3 straight, and hopes of catching Baylor for 6th in the Big 12 are dwindling after they lost at home to the Bears last night. Well, on our last show, we mentioned that despite Kansas being tied with Kansas State for 1st in the Big 12, the Jayhawks had a much tougher remaining schedule. Now, after 2 huge road wins against Oklahoma State and Iowa State, though it took 3 combined overtimes to get the job done, the roles have been reversed, and it's K-State who has the tougher remaining schedule. While Kansas has back-to-back home games against West Virginia and Texas Tech, followed by a road game at Baylor, the Wildcats have just TCU left at home and will have to play twice on the road, at Baylor as well, and then at Oklahoma State on the final regular season game of the season. The bottom line, if Kansas wins out, the Jayhawks are guaranteed a tie for 1st in the Big 12 for the 9th consecutive season.
But this has been a good year no matter how anybody looks at it. We are competing for a conference championship, one in which K-State and us both control our own destiny in that regard, and one in which that, you know, we're ranked pretty high nationally. And I think if any fan would have thought, hey, going into 3 games left, you could win the league and be a top 5 type team nationally, I think everybody was sold out for that. You know, the problem is we had the 3-game mark, which magnifies negativity, but I like where we're at.
Even Elijah Johnson knows how crucial the game on Monday night against Iowa State was to keep the Jayhawks conference title hopes alive.
Yeah, a whole lot on the line in that game. For the Big 12 race and everything, that was a key game to win going over to Iowa State. That was just as big as Oklahoma State. Those are games that kind of rattle you during conference. And to pull that one out over there in that environment like that was not the easiest thing in the world, but we pulled it out. So I'm proud of my team. It was a great feeling, and I'm happy I performed the way I did.
Coming up after the break, we'll preview senior night on Monday and show you how and why Elijah Johnson is just too strong. Oh, and did somebody mention new uniforms? We'll fill you in on that after the break. We'll be right back.
Look around you. 1 in 4 kids in the U.S. faces hunger. It's not always easy to see the signs, but in this land of plenty, there are kids that don't know where they will get their next meal. Join Share Our Strength in Food Network and take the pledge to end childhood hunger here in America by 2015. Learn how at NoKidHungry.org. Their next meal could come from you.
Over 1,000 babies are born every day with HIV, and half will die before their 2nd birthday. But the plain truth is, this can all be prevented. We now have the medicine and the treatment to stop the spread of HIV from mother to child. We can reach the goal of no child born with HIV by 2015. But it won't happen without you. Go to one.org and join the movement. Add your voice to the 2 million One members around the world. Together we can stop the spread of HIV from mother to child, so no mother ever has to worry about this again. We're not asking for your money, we're asking for your voice. Go to one.org and join us today.
Welcome back. Well, on Monday night when Kansas takes on Texas Tech, it will be the final game played in Allen Fieldhouse for seniors Kevin Young, Travis Relaford, Elijah Johnson, and Jeff Withey. It will also more than likely be Ben McLemore's final game in the Phog, since he's projected as a top 5 lottery pick in the upcoming NBA draft this June. As with previous senior night games, the seniors will be honored prior to the game, and then afterwards, each of the four will give his probably not very short speech, reflecting on their great memories here at Kansas. It's always a great time for Coach Self to sit back and realize just how big of an impact he's had in each of these young men's lives.
You know, when you think about these kids, this is all they know, to run out in front of 16-3 every night. They have been so spoiled, and I do think when it gets down to the end of it, I think they realize just how good they got it and how great they've had it. And I think it's one of those things that you think it'll never get here, and then when it does, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's here. And I don't know of anybody that I've coached that's played here that wouldn't give a lot to run through that tunnel one more time. And so I think it was different with me because I knew I was done, but we got 4 guys that are going to go play ball next year. And their whole focus is leaving a legacy. And you can ask them that, but I think they want to be the team that has done something special because there's so many special teams that's been there before them, and that's how they'll be judged over time. And so I think it's a little bit different for them, but one that I know that they all respect immensely as they're going through the process.
Do you remember those highlighter yellow uniforms Baylor broke out last March? Well, Adidas is at it again, and this time the Jayhawks are involved as well. For at least one game during the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City, Kansas will sport these new Adidas camouflage uniforms. Don't worry.
We agreed with Adidas several months ago to sport that uniform as part of their marketing campaign in the Big 12 tournament.
Now don't worry, if you're not a fan, it's all right. Coach made sure to specify that these would only be worn in the Big 12 tournament and that Kansas would return to its original uniforms for the NCAA tournament the following week. So I'm sure by now you've heard the sayings, put your shoes on, or too strong, in reference to Elijah Johnson. Well, all that originated during a practice last season when All Access Jayhawks captured Johnson hitting this three-quarters court shot.
Too strong. That way too strong. I got one for you. Come on. Hold on. Put your shoes on.
We'll see if Johnson and the Jayhawks can stay hot during the final 2 home games on Saturday and Monday. Tip-off against the West Virginia Mountaineers is scheduled for 1 p.m. on Saturday on CBS, and senior night against Texas Tech is on Monday at 6 p.m. on ESPNU. And that's all for this edition of the Bill Self News Conference Show. We'll see you back here next week to get you ready for the final regular season game of the season at Baylor and to preview the Big 12 tournament. Until then, I'm Matt Gasper, and Rock Chalk Jayhawk.